Okay, so hello guys. Shadow Cosmic Spark back here again. And well, first of all, I do apologize for the hiatus I've been taking recently. Um, yeah, I went on holiday with my family. I did plan to release some videos during the holiday, but as you can probably tell, it didn't happen. So I do apologize for that. And well, I'm back now, and I will be resuming my uh, making Shadowverse videos. And for a change, I thought um, now I'll do a sort of review, sort of, I guess, for the new Shadowverse expansion. So the new expansion is called Rise of Bahamut. I believe it's supposed to be released during the 26th of December or something. I'm not really sure of the date, but I'll check it out later. So basically, as you can see here, it's a 105 card expansion, um, and it adds the new mechanic Enhance. So from what I've heard, Enhance basically is the mechanic where you can play a certain card for more play points and have more effects activate for the card. So without further ado, I guess we'll look into the cards that are currently revealed. Also, it's 18th of December right now, so in the future they may release more cards, but for now these are the cards that have been revealed. So we start with the bottom, whoops, neutral. So we start off with neutral cards. So first we have Sahakwi, I can't pronounce it, Sahakwil. So it's a legendary neutral, 7 play points, 4/4. Fanfare. Put a neutral follower from your hand into play. Give it rush and return it to your hand at the end of your turn. It's definitely an interesting card. Um, Not sure how good it will be during play. Um, so I'm guessing this card it will be more towards a specific kind of deck. Maybe a OTK deck? Not very sure. Come on. Something just popped up. So since the card specifies that it has to be a neutral follower from your hand, you can basically select what card, sort of select what card you're going to play. Give it rush, which means that card can attack an enemy follower on that turn and return it to your hand after that. It's an interesting card, definitely, but I'm not really sure in the current meta how it would play out. It seems to be one of those interesting but not very useful legendaries. But who knows, with the new cards they are adding, we might get to see this being played. So that's Sahakwil. Next we have Bahamut, the star of the show himself. He's a 10 play point, 13/13, and his fanfare is destroy all other followers and amulets. But he can't attack an enemy leader if there are 2 or more enemy followers in play. So if any of you have played Hearthstone, he's kind of like the Deathwing, but he gets, how to say, not so more balanced, I guess. So his fanfare obviously is a very strong fanfare. It destroys all other followers and amulets, so basically it clears the board, including your own followers and amulets, I might say. So he can be sort of used in Havencraft for a amulet speed up mechanic, I guess. Um, However, his second effect can't attack the enemy follower if there are 2 or more enemy followers in play. This sort of balances it out, I guess, because, well, if you just get a 10, 13/13, destroy everything on the board, okay, next turn you lose sort of card. It's a little bit overpowered, but with this effect, I think it sort of balances it out. If you do play Havencraft with this card, you can really get some kind of sick combo with it. Like you play it down, it destroys everything on your opponent's field. It destroys your own amulets, which means you summon your followers, and then after that, the next turn, whatever he plays, you can clear it off with the followers you have already, and with things in your hand, and this can just go hit the enemy leader's face. So it's definitely a very strong card and a very late game card. So it will find its way in some decks, probably controlled, but it might lose to some faster cards, like your Face Swordcraft and your aggressive Bloodcraft Bat deck, maybe. So yeah, that's Bahamut. It's a very nice art as well. Moving on, we have Gourmet Emperor Kaiser. So this card I cannot review yet simply because it says put an ultimate carrot in your hand. What is an ultimate carrot? We do not know, but it sounds interesting. So yeah, I'll leave it here for now. We have Call of Cocytus. Cocytus, I think. Destroy an enemy follower. So enhance 8. Put a Servant of Darkness into your hand. So this is the first card I saw with enhance. Basically, it means that instead of playing this for 5 play points, you can play for 8 play points instead. So if you do play for 8 play points, you put a Servant of Darkness into your hand. If you guys don't know, Servant of Darkness is the 13/13 5 mana, 5 play point card, where it's just that. It's a 5 play point 13/13. It usually goes into the Prince of Darkness deck. So this is the first time where it can be found somewhere other than the Prince of Darkness deck. So how I would rate this card would be quite strong. If you are playing a late game deck with this card, which you probably will be, you can basically destroy an enemy follower for 8, which is a little bit overpriced, but you get a 13/13 into your hand for 5, which costs only 5 play points. The next time you can drop it with something else maybe. What makes this card flexible is it's basically like execute, but without the destroying an amulet, which is changed into the enhance 8 effect. So it makes the enhance mechanic makes most of the new cards more flexible in different scenarios. So even early game cards can turn into late game cards. So just by looking at this card itself, I feel it's quite good. As long as you don't die too quickly, and you can get to the late game point where you can play a Servant of Darkness. So yeah, it's pretty good. And last, I have not seen the last card, the fifth card, which they added, I think today or yesterday maybe. So this Hamza, to gain plus X plus 0, X equals the attack of the strongest enemy follower in play. This just gave me a very, very interesting thought. Well, so it's a bronze rarity, and it's a 2 mana 0/2, which is kind of bad, but it gains the attack of the strongest enemy follower. So it's an interesting card for sure. But I guess people won't really run it normally unless they really have to counter some kind of deck. I can imagine like your opponent plays a 13/13 Bahamaut and then you just play this card back and it becomes a 13/2 and he has no way of clearing it, so he gets a free trade into Bahamaut. But um, usually not. But it's an interesting card, definitely. Take a drink of water. Next we have Goblin Mage. It's bronze as well. Fanfare, put a random 2 playpoint follower from your deck into your hand. So it's basically like a search sort of skill. You play it, it gets a 2 playpoint follower from your deck into your hand. Yeah, that's it. Okay, generally quite a good card for for getting more resources. Next we have Ultimate Carrot. Oh, okay, so this is the Ultimate Carrot from the Emperor. What is it? It's a 2 playpoint 2/2. Last words, put an ultimate carrot into your no. Oh, I can see where this is going. Okay, so basically it's something like what's that card called again? The Hair of Illusions. It's a never-ending resource, I guess. So you play down him, you get an ultimate carrot. which is a 2, play point 2/2. Then you play down the carrot, it dies to give you another 2, play point 2/2 into your hand. So basically, it will always remain in your hand. It's okay, I guess. If your game turns out to be really long until the point where both you and your opponent are relying on top decks, this card can generate the extra resources for you to win. But as a card on its own, it's okay. It doesn't really have that much power, but for resources, I guess it's okay. Unless it gets like banished. But other than that, it's okay, I guess. Okay, so moving on to Havencraft. We have Tribunal of Good and Evil. It's an amulet for 4 play points. Countdown 3. Destroy an enemy. Wait, hold on. Countdown Fanfare. Destroy an random enemy follower. Last words. Destroy an random enemy follower. And it's countdown 3. I guess you could compare this with the other card, Death Sentence, which is a 4 play point amulet 2. However, that one's effect is countdown 1, and on last words destroy 2 random enemy followers. So personally, I feel this card is quite good because if your opponent just has one big enemy follower on the field, you can just snipe it off with this card because, well, random, when there's only one target, your random will be that one target. And countdown 3, so 3 turns later, you'll destroy another random enemy follower. I guess the fanfare, I would say it's better than the last words because for the fanfare, you get to control when you play it, but the last words, your opponent can play around it more, I guess. But countdown 3, kind of feel that's a little bit long for a countdown, isn't it? Because if you think about it, Death Sentence is kind of equal to this card because they both destroy two enemy followers. But Death Sentence has countdown 1, so you play it, and next turn, goodbye to 2 of your opponent's followers. But this card, you play it, it destroys something, definitely. The fanfare immediate effect is nice, but then you have to wait 3 turns before it destroys something else. So I guess this and Death Sentence can be swapped for certain kind of decks, but personally, I do feel Death Sentence is just a little bit better than this card. But who knows, this card might turn out useful instead. So moving on, we have Vahalan General. Okay. So fanfare, give an allied follower +3/+3 in rush. I don't know how I feel about this card. It's okay, it's a fair card where it's 6 play points and 3/3, but if you take in the buff of 3/3 to another follower, it's a 6/6, so I guess the stats is fair, and it gives the additional rush, so it's okay. But I don't really understand why you will be playing this in Havencraft. Havencraft, the 2 current Havencraft decks that are in the meta right now are currently the Healing Havencraft, which I do play a lot, and which one was it? The Storm one. The Storm Garuda Havencraft deck. Both have almost absolutely no use for this ability. So I'm guessing this kind of card is more for control Havencraft, which then it will make sense if you have to clear something off with your newly played follower. But other than that, I don't see much use for this card. Yeah, can't think of much. So maybe they're trying to boost the new Havencraft control archetype, maybe. So moving on, we have Luxhorn Sarissa. So rush, and the card's effect cannot receive more than 3 damage at a time. So this kind of confuses me a little bit. When they say cannot receive more than 3 damage at a time, does it mean in a turn or just for each attack? Because if it's in a turn, then this card is, I can see how it would be broken. But if it's more than 3 damage at a time, then it's just a more balanced, strong card. So how this card will work, I'm guessing it will be put more in the Control Havencraft category once again. It has Rush, so it can attack a enemy minion on the turn it's played. It's a 7 mana 5/5, which is okay for its ability, I guess. And after you play it, you can hit nearly anything and it won't die because it only can receive 3 damage at a time. So basically you have a 5 mana, 7 mana 5/5, which attacks something, doesn't die, and it'll probably kill the something since it has 5 attack. So I guess you get a free snipe off any minion. And it lives with 5/2, assuming it's taken the maximum 3 damage. It's pretty good. It does help. It will survive for quite a bit of time because of its cannot receive more than 3 damage at a time turn. So if you do evolve it, it'll need at least 3 attacks to kill it at the very least, cause 3, 3, 3, 9, which is, and its health is 7. So I'm guessing if you want to play this card, you have to do some one of those Havencraft buffing decks where you just buff this minion's health up to crazy levels. Then this minion will probably almost never die because its health is just so high, and since it cannot receive more than 3 damage at a time, it's very strong. Still though, I don't see this fitting much in the current meta, but the future does hold infinite possibilities. So moving on. We have Master Sage. It's a bronze rarity, and at the end of your turn, subtract 1 from the counter of all allied amulets. It's okay. For its stats, for a 3 play point 1/2, its stats are not the best. In fact, for stat wise, it's quite weak, but its effect is not too bad, I guess. At the end of your turn, subtract 1 from the counter of all allied amulets. So most of the time, I'm guessing this card would just be taken out during your next turn, during your opponent's next turn, because you play it does its effect, and then it dies. So it's okay, but I would really wish if this was a fanfare effect, because this effect states at the end of your turn, which means you have to wait until your end of your turn, which means you have to click the end turn button. But so your effects don't really activate that well. Because it was fanfare, you could summon, let's say, your followers or trigger like death rattle effects that destroy enemy followers, and yeah, the effects happen instantaneously and you can do things with your turn. With this, at the end of your turn, you have to wait till you finish everything, then it activates if it summons followers. With Storm, they still can't attack this turn. So, the only upside of this card I see is if it survives 2 or more turns, then it will be getting quite a bit of value. Other than that, I don't see much. So this card is okay for a bronze rarity, but generally I feel it won't be seeing much play, maybe, probably. Lastly, we have Veteran Tamer. So fanfare, summon the Beastly Vow. It's not bad. So in case you don't know, Beastly Vow is a amulet. It's a 2 countdown amulet that summons a 4/4 tiger. So if you think of it, this card it's not too bad, because for a 4 play point 2/3, Beastly Vow is 2 play points. So if you just subtract it directly from the Veteran Tamer, it becomes a 2 play point 2/3, which is okay. And it does summon the Beastly Vow. Beastly Vow has countdown 2, which is reasonable. And in the end, it summons a 4/4 tiger. So Yeah, this card's quite good, but I feel that it might be slightly too slow because Beastly Vow is usually a 2 play point, which means it can be played on turn 2. On turn 4, you get your Tiger. Here, this card, you play it on turn 4. Then on turn 6, you get your Tiger, which means it might be a little bit too slow. On the other hand, it does generate more resources because if you think just on stats alone, it's a 4 play point 6-7, which is quite high. So on stats alone, this card is good. On speed and tempo, it's slightly slower. So I guess it balances out to be a generally okay card. So that's it for Veteran Tamer. So now we have Bloodcraft. First one's already a little bit erotic. It's Sadistic Knight. So deal 2 damage to your leader, deal 6 damage to an enemy follower, and if you do choose to enhance it, you play it for 7 play points and summon a Beast Dominator. So in case anyone doesn't know, Beast Dominator is a 5 play point 6/6 that has the skill at the end of your turn. If your leader is not in Vengeance, deal 2 damage. Wait. At the start of your turn, if your leader is not in Vengeance, deal 2 damage to your leader and give -2 attack to this follower. So basically, you can, in terms of mana, you technically save 1 when summoning the Beast Dominator. So this card, I feel, is very good for Control Bloodcraft. Reason is because, well, you do 2 damage to your leader, which helps you get nearer to Vengeance, which means if you're already in Vengeance, you can skip the Beast Dominator's debuff. Then you do 6 damage to an enemy follower. 6 damage to an enemy follower is very large for a 3 play point card. So you do 6 damage, you clear off your enemy, you clear off the enemy follower, you deal damage to yourself, which gets you nearer to Vengeance. If you do choose to enhance it, you get a Beast Dominator, and since you're already near or in Vengeance, you can skip its skill. So it is very, very strong, I feel, this card. So would definitely run it in any control Bloodcraft cards. So if it's in early game, it's good because you deal 6 damage, you put yourself nearer to Vengeance. If it's in late game, it's still good because it deals damage and it summons a 6/6. So yeah, generally overall, very strong card. Moving on, we have Mastema. So it's a 5 play point 6/6. Yes, Bane, which is the hit once and kill thing, and can only attack the enemy follower and leaders. It can only attack the enemy leader and followers with ward. Okay, so it's an interesting card. It's the first card of its kind. It can only attack certain targets, here being the enemy leader and followers with ward. So it's one of those interesting cards which I guess you can put it as a tech card in probably Control Bloodcraft once again, because at the 5 mana 6/6, those are good stats for its cost, but it cannot attack normal enemy followers, which means it's more used for clearing off wards because it has the Bane ability and it can only attack followers with ward, and it's okay for hitting the enemy leader with. So hold on, I'm trying to remember. This is the first Bloodcraft card with ward, with Bane, right? Yeah, it is, I think. So definitely a interesting card. You can tech like a copy or 2 of it in Control Bloodcraft, I guess. Can destroy your enemy's wards. And if it does survive, it can attack the enemy leader. So it's an interesting card. It might be good depending on how the current meta switches, but generally right now I wouldn't play it. In the future, maybe. It's definitely an interesting card. Next we have Vite, Vampire Noble. So it's a 3 play point 3/2 ward. So it has the ability Clash, summon a forest bat. So I haven't checked what Clash is, but judging by its name, I'm presuming means when it attacks, it summons a forest bat. I think it's okay. Wait, Clash. Hold on, I'm just gonna Google this very quickly. Okay, so I just checked it out. Clash is an effect which activates when your follower is attacking and when it is attacked. So basically, I'm guessing at the very least, this card will summon a um, forest bat. If it does not, it is quite overpriced because if you're thinking about it, 3 play points, you should get a 3/3. Um, if it does survive, it can sort of generate a little bit of value because it summons a forest bat, obviously, and since it's ward, if your opponent doesn't clear it with a spell, it has to attack a minion into it, which means you will get at least one forest bat since it is getting attacked, which will put it at 4/3, which makes it have more value than its play point. And the forest bat synergy does help any kind of forest bat Bloodcraft deck. So I'm guessing this card will be put into the Bloodcraft Forest Bat deck. The maybe a more mid-range version, but not the aggro version of it. Reason is because this card I feel is a little bit slower. Um, it doesn't really do anything when it's put onto the field compared to something like Vania. When you evolve her, she summons a Forest Bat immediately and does 1 damage to the enemy leader. For this card, I feel it's a little bit more passive. You summon it as a 3/2. It protects your leader with ward, and if it does get hit, it summons a forest bat, which adds to your forest bat count. So I feel this card is slightly slower, slightly less tempo based, and more towards the mid-range variant of what you call it, Bloodcraft. So yeah. Next we have a Urius Levin Duke. No idea what the name is. So whenever an enemy follower comes into play, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. I can see how this would be a very dangerous card. Not in the early game, but in the late game. Because I'm thinking when your opponent's at like 5 health or something like that, you play down 2 copies of this card. So to deal with it, your enemy has to use spells. But if he or she does play a minion, he or she just takes more damage. So it's a interesting card for sure. It's one of the new. It follows the archetype of when something happens, something happens. That sounded weird. So basically, it's there are cards that say if you have an evolved follower in play, this happens. There are cards that say wherever you play a forest bat, this happens. So this one is whenever your enemy plays a follower, do 1 damage to the enemy face. So it's generally okay for doing chip damage, just to get a few points of damage on your enemy. But I don't think the enemy will leave this card to live on for very long. Probably clear it as soon as possible to make sure he or she doesn't take too much damage. But in the late game, I can see how this will be annoying if your enemy just have 1 or 2 health and you just play this down. Yeah, I can see this card being a little bit of a problem during the late game. Lastly, we have Flood Behemoth. So Clash, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. Quite a strong effect, I'll say. So basically, if you do play it in the late game, especially against decks like Swordcraft and Forestcraft, this card can be insanely strong. Why do I say that? Is because, well, first, it's 6 play points, which is kind of nearing the late game slash the end of the mid game. So what you can do is you play it, you evolve it to a 6/8. Then you hit one of your stronger enemy followers. And after that, since it has Clash, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers, it deals 1 damage to everything else. If your enemy is playing Swordcraft, which has the small, maybe the aggro Swordcraft, which has like your quick bladers, or you play Forestcraft, which has all their 1/1 fairies, you can literally just clear off these with a single attack. So yes, I feel this card is quite strong. Its stats are a little bit underrated because it's 6 play point 4/6, but generally it's quite good because if you think about it, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. If you do not kill what you are hitting, it does 1 damage to that. Then it just if your opponent has more than 3 or 4 enemy followers, you're doing 1 damage to each of them, which means you're getting back value for the attack you're losing. So it's generally a good card, I feel. So yeah, probably a little bit more control mid-range card, I guess. So that's it for Bloodcraft. Yes, yes. Okay, moving on to Shadowcraft. So first we have why all these weird names? Nephithius. Nephithius. It's a new card. It's a 8 play point 5/5. So fanfare, randomly put followers of different costs, excluding herself, from your deck into play until your area is full. Then destroy those followers. The heck? Hold on. Randomly put followers of different costs, excluding herself, from your deck into the play area until your area is full. Then destroy those followers. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, so I'm guessing this card is one of the more combo cards in Shadowcraft. So I'm guessing how you play this card is you play it and it pulls out probably 3 or 4 followers from your deck into the field, and then it destroys all those followers immediately. Normally that would be a waste, but Shadowcraft does have cards like, for example, Sarahwin, if anybody remembers that card. Basically, her effect is when she is evolved, she summons one of the highest cost minions that has died during this game. So if Nephithius does pull out, say, Bahamaut or something like, I don't know, some other strong stat follower that destroys it, and next turn you play Sarahwin and evolve her, Sarahwin will just bring back Bahamaut with her evolve effect. Basically, you get a free 13/13. So I can see how this effect would play out in a combo. The only reason I'm worried is because this card, it's 8 play points, and it's a 5/5. Playing this card might just lose you a little bit too much tempo. Yeah, that's all I'm worried about. Other than that, I can see how fun this card will be in playing it in a combo Shadowcraft. So I'm definitely looking forward to see some of the funky decks that this guy's got to be played in. Excuse me. So next we have Pact with the Nether God. So destroy an enemy follower with 4 or less defense. Or you can use it to have the enhance effect for 7, which then summons a Pluto and gives it +X+Y, where X and Y is the defense and attack of the destroyed follower. So basically speaking, you use 3 play points, you destroy a enemy follower with 4 or less defense. Then you summon it for 4. What? Get my mind straight. For 3 play points, you destroy an enemy follower with 4 or less defense. For 4 play points, for extra play points, you summon a Pluto and give it +X+Y. The question is whether I will run this with Pluto or will this replace the spot of Pluto. So in case anyone doesn't know, Pluto is a Shadowcraft legendary where when you play it, you destroy an enemy follower, then you gain the stats of that enemy follower. So I guess it's okay because once again, as you can tell, enhanced cards are very flexible. In the early game, you can use this to just take out one of your enemy's followers. In the late game, you can use it to summon an extra Pluto to give yourself some minions. But what would it replace in the normal deck? I'm guessing you put this in some kind of mid-range, late-game Shadowcraft deck. So it adds up to the removal which Shadowcraft already has, like Undying Resentment, but it's definitely very interesting. I do agree that it's quite strong. But 4 or less defense, which means your Pluto will be about 5/5 to 6/6. I'm not sure. This card, I feel that it's strong, but I don't see how it will be played over like more removal or some other 3-drop cards. I'll have to invest this card and investigate this card more. So I'll skip over this for now. So next we have Balor. Balor is a 6 play point 3/6 with Bane. Last words, deal 3 damage to all enemy followers. These are one of those cards where you really do not want to kill it, but you have to. So basically, for this card, it's sort of like a fuel wipe. So it's definitely understandable why it's a 3/6 for 6, because its last words is really strong. Deal 3 damage to all enemy followers. Really? Like, how do I say it? First, it has Bane, which means you play it, it kills everything and anything. Then, after it dies, it deals 3 damage to all enemy followers. It's definitely extremely strong. It's whether it will be played, because if you're playing up against a fast deck, which usually has small, annoying followers, if you do get this guy to activate, basically you can clear the opponent's field. However, he is 6 play points, so you need to survive to 6 play points first, and he's a 3/6. So, and his effects is the last words, which means you have to kill him. So he's definitely strong. And I would play him in some kind of mid-range control late game Shadowcraft. I'm not sure about mid-range because he seems a little bit of a more reactive card to me, where you play him and the opponent has to play around the deal 3 damage to all enemy followers. But I'm not sure. He's definitely strong. I'm just unsure which deck I would play him in. So yeah, that's that. And we have Ghostly Grasp next. Click. Okay. Ghostly Grasp. Destroy an enemy follower with 1 defense. Okay, if you have enough shadows, you can choose to use Necromancy 8 to destroy an enemy follower with 2 defense or more. Interesting. So basically, it's a 1 mana, remove anything with 1 health, and if you have enough shadows, you can choose to use it with Necromancy 8 and destroy anything with 2 or above, which is almost everything. So I guess it's one of those cards of Shadowcraft which is it's extremely flexible, both good for the late game and early game. But I won't play this in a fast deck because most of the time you do not need to kill an enemy follower with 1 defense. almost, and if you do, you have better removal for that. Undying Resentment, anything. Anything is better than using this card to destroy an enemy follower with 1 defense. It's the effect I'm more interested in is the second one, the Necromancy 8, destroy an enemy follower with 2 defense or more. I guess it's a flexible card, but I don't see it being played despite its flexibility. Like, Shadowcraft already has good 1-drops like the Skull Beast, and it doesn't really need this kind of removal. Like, it already has Call of the Void and some other kind of remove anything removal, so I don't think this card is gonna see much play. So yeah, that's my opinion of it. So next we have Ghost Town Sexton? What? Okay. What? Okay, let's move on to Playpoint 2-2, and it's Fanfare. All other allied followers in play will be destroyed instead when being banished, and all other allied followers that come into play will be destroyed instead when being banished. Okay. I need a second to understand this. All other allied followers in play will be destroyed instead when being banished. All other allied followers that come into play will be destroyed instead of being banished. Okay. So I'm guessing this is a counter, a very straightforward counter to Havencraft, because as you can tell, Havencraft is one of the main decks that use the banish mechanic to counter Shadowcraft, where Shadowcraft's last words don't activate. We have cards like the Priestess of the Kutgel, of course. You have Acolyte's Light, I believe. You have, well, a lot of cards with Banish, and it can really play around Shadowcraft's last words effect, like Balor from just now, and also Mordecai the Duelist. So this card is sort of a counter to that. So instead of your cards being destroyed, it will be banished instead. So the last words effect will definitely activate as long as he's in play, which is actually good for Shadowcraft because it ensures that the Shadowcraft cards get their value through their last words effect instead of just being banished and nothing happens by Havencraft. I guess you can run him in a counter deck, where if you want specifically counter off Havencraft, and if your deck has a lot of last words. So yeah. So I think it's generally quite an interesting and good card. So there's still quite a bit. Okay, I'll stop the review here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave in your comments what you'd like to see me do, and any opinions you have on the cards, please do leave them in the comments. And I will continue the rest in another video at another time. So see you. Bye bye.